1979, Dr. Ellen Langer, a Harvard psychologist, tested out a bold idea. Can the way we think about aging actually change how we age? The question seemed almost too simple, but also revolutionary. What if aging wasn't just about biology? What if our beliefs, our mindset, played a bigger role than we ever imagined? Dr. Langer's experiment, later known as the Counterclockwise Experiment, would challenge society's deepest assumptions about aging and reveal the extraordinary power of the human mind. Dr. Langer's idea wasn't born in a lab. It came from observing people. She noticed something strange. Many older adults seemed to age faster when they started believing they were old. Think about it. How often do people say things like, "I'm too old for that," or accept help for things they could easily do themselves? Langer wondered, was it possible that these beliefs, this social script about aging, were limiting people more than age itself? She wasn't the first to notice this. Studies had already shown that people with positive views about aging tended to live longer and healthier lives. But no one had tested whether mindset alone could directly change physical health. Langer decided to test this idea in the boldest way possible, by creating an experiment that would turn back time itself. The experiment involved 8 elderly men, all aged 70 to 80. They were struggling with the usual effects of aging: stiff joints, poor memory, slower movement, even some vision issues. For 1 week, these men would leave behind their daily lives and travel to a secluded retreat. But this wasn't just any retreat. It was a step back in time, a step back to the year 1959. The retreat was transformed into a perfect replica of that year. Black and white photos of Eisenhower and Marilyn Monroe were put on the walls. Newspapers and magazines were dated 1959. A vintage radio played music from that era, everything from jazz to early rock and roll. Even the language the men used was controlled. They weren't allowed to talk about the present, their health problems, or their current age. Instead, they were asked to speak and act as if they were living in 1959. If someone had been a lawyer back then, they were a lawyer again. If they had small children in 1959, that's where the conversation stayed. The idea was to create a mental environment where the men could feel and act as though they were decades younger. The retreat wasn't just about sitting around and reminiscing. Each day was carefully planned to engage the men both mentally and physically. The men carried their own luggage to their rooms, something they might not have done in years. They set the table, played cards, and discussed the politics of 1959. No one treated them like elderly individuals. They were treated as capable adults in their prime. Music played a big role, too. Songs from the 1950s filled the air, bringing back memories of dances, dates, and celebrations. The men talked about baseball games, their favorite TV shows, and even debated Cold War politics. Every activity was designed to immerse them in their younger selves. The men weren't just remembering their youth. They were living it. After just 5 days, the changes in the men were astonishing. Their posture improved. Some of the men, who had arrived hunched over, stood taller and straighter. Their joints became more flexible. One man, who had been dependent on a cane, found himself walking more steadily. Even their vision changed. One participant reported seeing more clearly, a claim supported by vision tests at the end of the week. The men also became mentally sharper. Memory tests showed improvement. They recalled names, numbers, and details more easily. They engaged in discussions with more energy, confidence. Perhaps the most striking change was in their attitude. They felt younger and more alive. Their faces seemed to light up, and their laughter came easier. Photographs taken before and after the retreat told an incredible story. Independent judges who knew nothing about the experiment consistently rated the men as looking younger in their post-retreat photos. 5 days. And these men had experienced transformations that seemed impossible. Dr. Langer's results showed that aging isn't purely physical. It's deeply influenced by the mind. If you think you're old, frail, or incapable, your body might follow suit. But if you believe you're capable, active, and youthful, your body can reflect that belief. Dr. Langer's experiment sparked a wave of new research. For example, Dr. Becca Levy at Yale University studied the impact of beliefs on aging. Her research showed that older adults with positive attitudes about aging lived, on average, 7.5 years longer than those with negative attitudes. Other studies have replicated the effects of Langer's work using tools like virtual reality. These experiments placed participants in simulated environments from their younger years and found similar improvements in health, mood, and mental sharpness. The evidence was clear. The mind is a powerful ally in staying youthful. So, what do we learn? We need to challenge limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves. Stop saying, "I'm too old for that." Whether it's dancing, traveling, or starting a new hobby, don't let your age define your limits. Stay active. Movement matters. Even small things like walking, gardening, or stretching can help maintain physical vitality. Surround yourself with things that make you feel alive. Play music that uplifts you. Display photos from your happiest moments. Speak kindly to yourself. The words you use about yourself matter. Instead of saying, "I can't do this anymore," try, "Let's see how I can adapt." It's important to note that this experiment had a few limitations. The study involved a small sample size. This means the results might not apply to everyone. There have been replication issues. Other scientists haven't been able to repeat the experiment under strict conditions. This makes it hard to confirm the findings. Some believe the improvements observed could be due to confounding variables. For example, the excitement of being in a new place or taking a break from their usual routines. This might be the reason for the changes, rather than the specific activities in the study. Despite these points, the experiment has sparked significant interest in how our thoughts and beliefs can impact our health. If you're fascinated by the counterclockwise experiment, you might enjoy Ellen Langer's book, Counterclockwise: Mindful Health and the Power of Possibility. In this insightful book, Dr. Langer delves deeper into her groundbreaking work and explores how changing our mindset can transform our health, happiness, and everyday lives. It's an inspiring read for anyone who wants to challenge conventional wisdom and unlock the full potential of their mind. The counterclockwise experiment wasn't about magic or reversing time. It was about revealing the untapped potential of the human mind. Dr. Langer's work showed us that aging doesn't have to mean decline. It's not just about how many candles are on the cake. It's about how you feel, how you think, and how you choose to live. If a group of elderly men could transform themselves in just 5 days, what might be possible for the rest of us? Always remember, while an experiment can uncover valuable insights, it is ultimately up to us to interpret the findings, apply our judgment, and seek expert guidance when necessary. The counterclockwise experiment asks us one simple question. If you could think differently about your life, about your potential, what might you be capable of?